I'm Amanda,
And I'm Alex, the love of her life.
and
And
this
this is
is
our
our
love
love
story.
story. So we've been dating for 4 years now, but we've known each other for a total of about 5 years.
Yes.
Uh,
It took her around 3 years to remember our anniversary, but she
True.
finally got it the fourth year. So it's been 4 years.
And we first met actually through a mutual friend of ours when I was going to school in LA. And so that's how we got to know each other, but we actually didn't start dating until after we moved away from one another. So we've been doing long distance for quite some time. We kind of did the reverse. And then,
Yeah, like she said exactly that. We met through the guy who's actually going to be my best man. He doesn't know yet, so he'll find out soon enough. And he's one of my best friends. They were really good friends. They were going to school together, and then at some point we started hanging out together. Initially, it's kind of funny because we had no intention of dating at all. From the beginning, we were really good friends, and it was going to remain that way. But then as we continued to get to know one another, things started shifting. And funny enough, like she said, when we finally shifted to starting to date, it wasn't until we were away from each other, where she was in Bakersfield, I was back in LA. But we've made it work. Thankfully, we each have 3-day weekends every other weekend, so it's really made things easier, and our families have been extremely supportive, so that definitely made things possible. I think if it wasn't for them, I don't know if we would be where we are today,
Yeah.
because I mean, yeah, 4 years of long distance, it hasn't been easy, but it's taught us a lot about each other, about communication, so I think it's giving us a good prep for the next step that we're going to be taking.
yeah. And what's the best memory of us dating? I think for me, it's probably just been our bike rides together and going to the beach and just going through the tide pools and things like that.
Yeah, that
Has been probably some of the best memories. We've done a lot of cool things. We've
Yeah.
done like a flying trapeze class together. Our first anniversary, we actually took a hot air balloon ride. So we've done a lot of cool things, but I think it's been, those bike rides and just our talks that have probably been some of the best
I agree.
memories.
And it's funny too, because in the beginning we were taking trips like crazy. We were traveling all the time, and as time progressed, obviously you cannot afford to just travel every other weekend. So it started shifting more into doing more everyday things, and that, like she said, it was a beauty of its own, and it's probably some of the things that we remember the most at this point. In terms of, so that's a little bit about our story, and then I've been ready to propose for a long time, but then COVID happened, and obviously that pushed everything back because I wanted to do a flash mob. That was always my goal from the beginning, but obviously that wasn't going to
Can't have a
happen
flash
during
mob
COVID.
during a pandemic.
Yeah, so I had to be creative. So it ended up taking me a little longer because I'm the type of, I have to be satisfied with the idea in order to carry on with it. I don't get satisfied if it's just like, okay, I'm going to get on one knee and pop the question. It actually has to be where I'm satisfied and I feel like this is worthy of for her. So long story short, initially I was planning to do it back in LA, but then I figured it would be better if I got her family involved. So it ended up being in Bakersfield at Mill Creek. She's really hard to propose to because she's a huge planner, and she needs to know everything. So when it came to planning for it, I actually try to stay away from her. I try to not talk to her much because I mess around a lot. So I can lie, but at the end of the day, it's always messing around. It's never where I'm actually lying. So I end up always saying the truth. So I knew that if I talked to her enough, it would come out. She didn't really notice it. I guess that's the beauty of long distance. She didn't realize the fact that I was planning something out. But I planned it out with my dad. He helped me build a couple of things back home so that I could bring them out here and just put them together. So we pre-made them. And then initially I was going to propose at the park, just everything at the park. And then I realized how that wasn't going to work with the things that I was trying to do. So I talked to her mom, and I was trying to do it the following day that after I talked to her mom, in terms of the proposal itself. And then her mom was very nice about it. She didn't say like, no, you're crazy. You're not going to be able to make it in the time frame that you're doing it. But she broke it down in the best way possible. She was like, let me see how I can help you. And then that day that I was supposed to set everything up, Amanda was working, and the lie was going to be, we were all going to meet at Mill Creek. We were going to take pictures there, or they were going to take pictures there. I actually wasn't in the picture. And then Amanda was like, no, I cannot. I have too much work today. Like, I'm not going to be able to get out early. It's just not going to happen. And then her mom told me with relief, because she knew I was trying to do too much in too little time, hey, Alex, I think you should wait until tomorrow. So I did. Long story short, it ended up taking a friend of ours and myself 8 hours to set up what I was trying to do within a 2-hour time frame. So we ended up doing it on Saturday. It was really nice. We went to Mill Creek. I had a little path of rose petals and candles. And then at the end, it was a heart filled with rose petals. And then in marquee lighting, it said, marry me. And they showed up. I was already in town. And we drove her there. She thought it was kind of weird. And she did see that I was nervous because my hands were shaking.
His hands were shaking. It was very obvious you were nervous.
Yeah.
I could feel his tension just coming from him.
And my tension transferred to her because when we drove together, her tension was through the ceiling. It was insane.
Because I knew something was off. I didn't have any idea what was going on. So that's where we took advantage of COVID because everybody had their mask on. The story was, okay, we're going to meet with your uncle. He wants to blindfold you guys. So they just put their mask up to their eyes. And then her mom said, Alex, he needs you to go help out. So I went during the time that they were waiting in the car. I set everything up quickly. And then they walked down blindfolded. She was the only one wearing blindfolds, but she thought her sisters were also wearing blindfolds. And when she finally got there, it was funny because I was standing at the end under Mill Creek, and she just stood there. She literally froze and did nothing. So I had to tell her, like, hey, Amanda, come over. After that, I proposed. It was in flowers, and then in one of the flowers, it was fake, and that's where I put the ring. So when I popped the question, which she actually never said yes to initially. Well, I was in shock. I was had so much emotion going through me. I kind of forgot what was happening in that moment, and then he had to ask again, and I'm like, yes, of course, yes, I'll marry you. And I had so much joy, and he surprised me, which is really hard to do because I ask a lot of questions. So the fact that he was able to pull this off was definitely an achievement of its own.
And she thought it was over, but it wasn't. So because, again, COVID, she knew that I wasn't going to do anything too crazy. But what we had done the previous day was we set up like a little gazebo at her grandparents' house in the backyard. And it ended up being really nice because, again, initially it was just going to be at the park. But because we were able to do it at her grandparents' house, it made it even more special because they were able to be a part of the proposal. And that just made it so much more special. And it ended up being great. It was a really nice day. We both had a great time, and it was a good way to pop the question.
And so, are we excited about the wedding? Yes, we're very excited. Our families are very excited because we are planning to have it around a year from now, a little more than a year, just so that we can actually have all of our friends and family there. So I think it'll be, something really nice and something to look forward to, not only for us, but just our families. And everyone's been very supportive. So, and I love planning things. So this is great for me.
Yeah, and I agree in that sense of being able to plan it with her. The proposal, it was fun to plan, but it was very stressful because it was just me and I had to do everything behind her back. And that was kind of hard in that sense because, again, she questions absolutely everything. So now that I can actually plan something with her, it makes it so much easier, so much better. And it's funny because people ask us, are you guys going to have like a small wedding, a big wedding, medium size? And it's like, well, we kind of have no option. Her family, just like looking at her invites for her family, we're looking already at 60. My family, we're looking at 60. So if we each had 30 friends, meaning 15 of my friends, 15 of her friends, and their dates, we're already at 180. So it's it's gonna be a big party. I'm looking forward to every portion of it. The planning we're doing currently, and it's been fun. The wedding itself, obviously, like God has always been a huge part of our relationship. So the fact that we're gonna get God's blessing is something that I'm looking forward to. And just the fact that, I mean, she's going to be my one and only for the rest of my life just sounds so nice. And not to even mention the party, like obviously looking forward to the party with the family, the dancing, and then the traveling that we're going to do after the fact. Love. You know, love has so many meanings. Amanda has definitely expanded the meaning of love. Love is so many things, and one thing that I've learned with Amanda is that a huge part of love is patience, understanding, and really loving oneself in order to love the other person. One thing that I can say about Amanda is that something that definitely made her stand out to me from the beginning was the fact that she liked me exactly for who I was. And it really, I don't think I've ever had issues in terms of self-confidence, but just the fact that she loved me to the point where she loved both my good and the bad, it made our love story so much better. And it really allowed me to be myself and for her to actually fall in love with the person that I really was, not the person that we try to be initially to just impress the other person.
In defining love, I think kind of what Alex said, our relationship was very organic because we were friends for quite some time before we actually started to date. And so I think, you know, we always respected each other. We always cared for one another. But I think just the moments that we're able to share with one another, that we're really able to rely on one another, I think that's, you know, why I love him so much. Because it's just, you know, it's not always easy, especially because we were far apart. But at the same time, it was always something that, you know, we both wanted to be with one another. It never felt like either of us was compromising being together, because we just cared and loved one another so much that, and just so much respect for one another, that I think it really, you know, allowed us to have a really strong relationship, very honest relationship. So.
And like she said, I mean, exactly that in terms of, it was not always easy. If there's something to learn, we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and it's good. It's good because it's really taught us a lot about one another and how we work through issues, and how we also go about the good things. And it's been good to share both of those things, because yeah, it's been a long ride, but it's been a very enjoyable ride at the end of the day, both the good and the bad. I think both of us treasure both things because we've learned from the both of them.
Yeah.
And that's our
our
love
story.